Welcome to the conversation. Joining us now is Natasha Gupta. Natasha Gupta is running for as a candidate for California's Assembly in the 25th District. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So just reading through your platform and your policies and what inspires you, I find you to be such a fascinating candidate, especially as a child of immigrants, someone who didn't really feel like had a lot of representation in the political world. You were inspired by Obama's campaign when you were volunteering. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So first of all, thank you very much for having me. District 25 is such a diverse district that covers Fremont, Newark, Milpitas, San Jose, and Santa Clara. And I think what you're getting at there, being a child of immigrants, and as you know, as my experience on the Obama campaign kind of showed me, is that just like this district, I believe that we are such an amalgamation of so many different kinds of stories that all share a common goal, that we all want to see a district that is more equitable and equal for all, that we see right now rising income inequality in California that really is capitalized by this district, which is the heart of Silicon Valley. In terms of what I was inspired by in Obama's campaign and what has propelled me forward in this race is that a lot of people right now, especially in the absence of a lot of compassion and empathy that we see in our dialogue, are looking, frankly, for once again that message of hope, and frankly the message to believe in a bigger California dream for all of us that doesn't just resolve the existing crises that we have with homelessness, with the cost of education, with the cost of living, and frankly the ability to dream of a better life, but the ability to dream even bigger than that. And we see for so many families across District 25 that the basic struggle to even keep up with rent, the basic struggle to even be able to conceive of sending your kids to college debt-free is something that has choked that dream for so many people, and why we need to channel that in not just running a campaign that is against something of the rising income inequality that we see, but running a campaign that is for something.
So let's talk a little bit about what politics in California is like, because as a Californian, I was born and raised here. I've lived here my entire life. While there are a lot of Democrats in office in California, the fact of the matter is many of them are corrupt. Many of them have real estate developers in their pocket. And so if you win, you're gonna have to deal with a lot of that. And so how do you propose to kind of overcome the corrupt lawmakers in this state in order to accomplish some of your policies?
You're absolutely right, Anna. And the truth of the matter is that running as an outsider myself, and as someone who my day job is working in technology, I'm not from politics, and I have seen how the system in and of itself, even to run for office, is set up such that outsiders are not encouraged to run. Did you know, by the way, it takes almost $10,000 just to be able to file your name on the ballot, to be able to put a candidate statement in both the counties that this district covers, which is Alameda County and Santa Clara County. And on top of that, all of the fees that are associated with sending in your paperwork, with just basically getting your name in the door. And at a point in our time where this is something that prevents a lot of single mothers from running. It prevents teachers from running. It prevents a lot of ordinary Americans from running where we don't have $10,000 like that just to spend on a political run, just to get our name in the book. Look at how from the outset the system is set up that way. And what I believe that we need to do to truly overhaul the absolute corruption of our career politicians is we need to have publicly financed elections. We need to undo a lot of these arbitrary fees that even to just go in front of an endorsement committee for the Democratic Party, having to pay $250 just to be considered for an endorsement. Imagine how many people that are from actual ordinary everyday people that could actually conceive of running if we did not complicate this process and from a monetary standpoint, make it inconceivable for them to run. That is the first step in what we're going to have to do just from from the pure rules standpoint to get ordinary people into office. Then after that, what we have to do is we have to elect people that are actually going to the communities, not just for the photo op, but they are actually interacting with the constituents they're serving to represent. In our campaign, we actually got on the ballot by rallying 1,000 people to sign our petition to get on the ballot, as opposed to just paying the filing fee and having our name show up, because we believed in earning that vote in our community across all the 5 cities in our district. And this led to many people telling us, this is the first time in 30 or 40 years that I've been living here that anybody running for office has even asked me for my vote. That's what's going to force that level of accountability and, frankly, a certain level of realism when we hear our politicians actually speak truth to what the constituents are saying about the most pressing issues that they have.
Definitely. I mean, the way the system is set up, it discourages the so-called non-elite to run, and it's a system for the wealthy. And if you have the money, you have the upper hand in being able to run in these elections. And so I love that you mentioned the importance of publicly financed elections. That's obviously part of your platform. But let's talk a little bit about other views you have, including healthcare, homelessness, housing. When it comes to housing, that is a huge issue in the state of California. How do you propose to combat homelessness and unaffordable housing?
I think when we talk about the issue of homelessness, so much of the conversation has surrounded measures that increase the supply of housing and affordable units and programs to ensure that we can shelter our homeless. But there has not been enough conversation surrounding funding and adequate services for mental health and helping our homeless get access to job retraining, job opportunities. And what I have found that is missing from the community dialogue that you hear from folks on the ground, for example, in the city of Fremont, where they are planning a navigation center, is that much of the community was in fact very dismayed that while there was a lot of emphasis on funding being focused on shelter, there wasn't any sort of transparency from local city officials on what would be the health and facility services for those that had been displaced. How are we going to ensure that we don't just shelter our homeless, we create a sense of community for them, we create frankly a pathway for them to thrive? I have proposed that on a statewide level, we need to tackle this in a similar fashion that states like Utah tackled homelessness, where they had an initiative that for every displaced person, we will not just shelter, we will assign them social workers. We will ensure that there is some pathway towards rehabilitation as well as sheltering. And that is what we need to do on a statewide level. We need to not just ensure supply of units, we need to ensure that for every person, there is access to services that help them desperately get the help that they need.
Yeah.
And with regards to affordable housing, the other aspect that I really don't see at all covered in the statewide dialogue surrounding this is that for a lot of young millennials like myself who are looking at owning their own home, we need to increase the programs that are available for us to encourage home ownership with a lot of young professionals that are going to the workplace. I believe that the cost of college has a huge part in explaining why is it that statistically, even across our whole country, home ownership among folks in 20 to 30 is very, very low compared to the past. And so comprehensively, what we need to do to attack the issue of homelessness and affordable housing is also attacking the larger cost of living, ensuring statewide our public colleges are not putting our students into debt, ensuring statewide that you have access to affordable transit so that you are not having to have your entire livelihood just revolve around how you get to work every day financially. That's what we're going to have to do to comprehensively tackle this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you touched on so many different things there. And I love that you mentioned the program in Utah, because you're right, the program in Utah was a huge success. However, in recent years, the homeless population has actually skyrocketed further in Utah. And so, look, there's the solution for a problem, which is just provide housing, and I think that's so important. But there's also a huge underlying problem, which is affordability, cost of life. You touched on that a little bit, but I wanted to get your thoughts on wages, because while California is actually pretty good when it comes to increasing wages for its workers, it still hasn't caught up with the price of housing. So how do you propose to tackle that?
You know, you're absolutely right. And in fact, in our own city, in Santa Clara, the city government decided that an entire street we're going to designate on El Camino Real to keep below market rate housing. It'll be fixed at units that are 300,000 to 400,000 per year. And when you resell the unit, it is fixed at that price. So you cannot sell that and turn that and flip it for a profit per se. And that frankly gets to the heart of the issue of why, even though with wage growth, there are some groups that have been able to be mobile and to afford housing in California, there's a whole segment that has been left out of that prosperity. And so programs like what we did in the city of Santa Clara, if we did that statewide, ensuring, for example, that at least 20% of new units that are built in any given metropolitan city in California by mandate have to be housing that is affordable for, and you have to only restrict that to certain income groups, that could be a huge step forward, right? Now, with regards to what you asked about wage growth, I think that there is a larger question also. Are we frankly granting equal access to every group for them to have educational opportunity that will allow them to be mobile, that will allow them to progress? Frankly, we're not realistic in the discussion that even if we offer something like free community college, if you're already working 2-3 jobs just to stay afloat, how is it you're going to conceive of going to night school to perhaps get further technical education to increase your skills and perhaps get a better job, right? So that is a very nuanced conversation we have to have with regards to wage growth. I personally would propose that we ensure every employer makes sure that there are subsidies that they provide if their employees want to get further career technical education, such that they're able to make that jump that without having to sacrifice obligations towards family financially, that they have adequate childcare services that are subsidized by our state to ensure that this is not placing an unfair burden on single mothers to have to choose between their career or their children, something which has historically held back economically disadvantaged groups, by the way. So all of these initiatives, while they're small steps, they can do a lot in improving the situation of wage growth here in California.
All right. Well, Natasha Gupta, it seems like you have an incredibly comprehensive platform, and I encourage our viewers to check it out. Go to Gupta2020.com to learn more. Again, Gupta2020.com, and you can also donate by going to Gupta2020.com/donate. Or if you're interested in volunteering, you can go to Gupta2020.com/join-the-fight. Thank you again, Natasha. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.